with another Wuthering Waves video. We're literally playing Wuthering Waves. And something's been on my mind lately about Doomposting. I just came across this Reddit thread, and so I'm making a little document. And I'm going to pull up some links. I'm going to go over some things. I think there's a lot of Doomposting happening right now, and I think the reason why is because a lot of false equivalencies going on in the space. And I don't know if it's astroturfing. I mean, I know Hoyoverse has the Ice JJ Fish community coming at everyone left and right, but it's becoming a little weird. It's becoming a little weird, right? And this is someone who crashed out on brand and was completely proven wrong. I have my trust in their balancing capabilities. So this sub is becoming unbearable. This was posted about 4 hours ago. So this says, I was going to type out a long post. I got some of the things that Kuro have been doing lately aren't ideal. They've been better, but ultimately this is still a good game. I genuinely don't know if I'm playing the same game as most of these posts. Zani is dependent on Phoebe. 1 billion DPS loss. I decided to just test out Shore, S Rover, and Zani in first hazard TOA, and it was over in 2 rotations. I have S1 R1, so I can coincide that I might take another rotation without that, but I was done with 349 left. This was my first attempt without even trying hard. So if she can clear endgame content without Phoebe, without any issues, what are you complaining about here? Now, this is a really great point. There is nothing to complain about here, right? I think the root of the reason why people are saying that Phoebe is required is because of Genshin Impact, right? I really do. So I want to define 2 things real quick. What is Doomposting and false equivalence fallacy for you? So right here, Doomposting is a term referring to online practice of expressing overly negative opinions or predictions, often with an emphasis on exaggerated or pessimistic outcomes. Very funny. They have a picture of Ayato here, by the way, right? So the Doomposting is people saying Phoebe is needed for Zani. If you don't have Zani, this is bad, right? Now, a normal criticism would be, yeah, I really don't like the fact that I need to unlock a premium 5-star to unlock 100% of the character's kit potential, right? Now, obviously, the character is still functional without 150 blaze, right? But I could understand that, and that is not Doomposting. That's a valid concern. But saying this is the worst thing ever, that's crazy. Why is this happening? I think people are comparing it to Mavika Sitlali, seeing what happened in Genshin with Hoyo PTSD and having an issue and thinking it's a one-to-one. So false equivalency fallacy. A false equivalency fallacy occurs when someone draws an incorrect comparison between 2 things, implying they are equivalent or similar in some way when they are not. This is often involving comparing apples and oranges, highlighting a lack of genuine comparison due to a significant difference between the subjects. So when you look at Phoebe and this situation with Zani is a character who, first of all, is not too hard to build because they're going to get themselves 20 crit rate off rip from their artifact set. And if you have Shorekeeper, that's another 12 crit rate and then another 24 crit damage. But Zani has a free S6 unit who can use Spectral Frazzle, right? Zani needs Spectral Frazzle for their multipliers to go crazy. Sidebar, as I'm recording this, Fob is literally soloing holograms with Zani, by the way, just so you know, because everyone was Doomposting about that as well. Oh, you need Spectral Frazzle to do damage. Bro's killing it out there, right? But this is a free main character that you can get to S6. Again, easy crit rate build because it's crit rate built into their artifact set, into their constellations. Emerald of Genesis is free. This is a unit that can put out a good chunk of damage, use the Moonlit set, or even the Rejuvenating Glow set, give Zani a great amount of buffs, and apply just enough Spectral Frazzle to complete your TOA in 2 to 2.5 rotations compared to Phoebe, right? The reason why this is not even close to Genshin Impact's Mavika Sitlali is simply because of the fact that Zani does not define the new meta, right? So I'm going to pull up Pridewind real quick for you, and I'm going to show you the tier list for Wuthering Waves. When we look at the tier list, realistically, while Zani is in T0, absolutely, because they're an amazing unit, but they are not substantially doing more damage than everyone else. I believe it's a couple percentage off from Carlotta, either a couple percentage higher, a couple percentage lower. It's really not that big of a difference, right? Carlotta dropped in 2.0, T0. A 1.1 unit, Jinsey, T0. By the way, needs coordinated strikes to work. Sidebar. Very similar to the Spectral Frazzle gimmick here. Phoebe is T0 twice. T0 in DPS and hybrid. Zani just came out T0. Pamela, a 1.4 unit, I believe. T0.5. Zhang Liao. T0.5, a unit that was free in 1.2 is still T0.5. We have a S6 rover that's completely free, and again, you get a free Emerald of Genesis, being able to put up Kobe numbers on the board for free. The meta is not even nowhere near Genshin Impact or Honkai Star Rail, okay? If Zani were to do 30% more damage than the best Carlotta rotation and the best Camilla rotation, the best Jinsey rotation, I would absolutely say there's a problem here. But that's not the case. That's not what we're witnessing, right? When you look at Genshin Impact numbers here, I'm going to pull this up. This is the Abyss HP pool over time. Now, real power creep started to happen around Fontaine. And when you look at Fontaine, there wasn't that crazy of an increase. Farina and Nouvelette really killed everything. You know, Arlecchino came out around 4.8, and there was a little bit of a bump. I say a little bit, about 3.5 million to 5.1 million, right? Now, when Mavica and Sitlali came out at 5.3, we went from 5.8 million to 6.7 million HP. Mavica raised the skill, not let me phrase that, not the skill, the damage output substantially. To this day, we went from 4.8 million on the blue line to 8 million. The yellow is at 8.6 million. Mavica and Sitlali are two characters that were ran on the same half the first time they were ever running and synergize perfectly, and there is not a free-to-play option that gives you that same significant power spike that Mavica and Sitlali provide, right? Well, you have that with Zani. It's called Spectral Rover, right? Now, if we look at this, the other big false equivalency that I'm seeing floating around, this wasn't even necessarily mentioned in the Reddit thread, but I'm just throwing this out here, is in Genshin Impact 5.3, you got 97 free pulls. 20 of those 97 pulls were locked due to the lantern right, and that happened after the first half of the patch, right? Where both Mavica and Sitlali were gone. They were off banner already, and those other events weren't present in the first half of the patch. So you're missing out on the two characters that synergize like peanut butter and jelly. You're missing out on tons of rewards and other things. So people are like, oh my God, well, the free extra 10 Zani pulls, those free 10 pulls, they're going to happen after Zani's gone. Yes, but Shiakona is still going to be there. That's still a new limited 5-star readily available for you to spend those 10 pulls on. Does it suck that it's not available for the player outright? Absolutely, right? More choices for the player is always a positive. But with that being said, these false equivalencies keep happening. And it's actually insane to me. I was someone, again, I did what Brant. Brant is an amazing unit, both sub DPS and DPS. The balancing in Wuthering Waves has been phenomenal so far. But if you look at this, and I might make a separate video on this, then you got people talking about the anniversary shop and how that's predatory and how it's considered a quote unquote spending event when they're tracking your pulls. If you pull on a if you pull on a character banner or on a weapon banner, you'll get rewarded and could exchange it for more pulls. Listen, at the end of the day, the Doomposting has been out of control. And I truly believe it is from Hoyo PTSD. The big fuck up of WUWA back in the day was the launch and no content at 1.2. And they fixed both of those. Launch was fixed with free 5 stars, tons of rewards. 1.2 gave you a free Jing Liao, right? 2.0 knocked it out the park. The big fuck up that is just a shit stain, and it is what it is the lack of anniversary reward, right? I think we could all agree for 10, 12, however many banners there is, it would definitely be nice for some more rewards. They gave out some. I'm kind of over it, but That is the biggest thing we have going, right? The game is still in a solid spot. If we see characters absolutely starting to power creep crazy in this game, again, Zani doing more damage than Jinxie by 50%. Zani doing more damage with Peeb than the best Carlotta team by 35%. There's a problem. Then that's a Mavica Silali situation. The rerun banners. Again, going back to Pride Win, all the characters getting rerun are in T0 to T1 categories. And even the people in T1, if you use an expert tag, go up a tier. We need to stop this. I understand that sometimes Hoyoverse can fuck up their games. Absolutely. But Wuwa has not done enough to have a bad reputation to the point where we're going to be bothered by every single thing. So keep in mind when you criticize the game, let's say, for example, you don't like the fact that now a lot of the units are going to be hyper specific to certain elements. I think that's a fair criticism. But when you say that this game is dead and it's going to die EOS and it's the worst thing of all time and it's worse than Genshin because Brand is a healer that has fusion amplification and Giacona is going to be a arrow user that's a shielder and gives arrow amplification, I think we need to take a step back and we need to lock it in and readjust the lens. Stop with the doom posting, stop with the false equivalence fallacies, and understand the game that you have in front of you and be fair. Don't sit there and slurp up everything, but be honest. Because I did the Peeb and Zani stuff. I Peeb and Zani, I clear 2 rotations. Spectro Rover, Zani, I clear 2.5. Game is okay. Promise you. Let's debunk all this shit and move on. I love you. See you in the next one.